Dum-da-dum, just gonna put on a movie and... What on earth? What the... Is that an alligator somehow in my living room? Oh no, what am I gonna do?
Hey Nathan, how's it going, mate?
Brenton, what are you doing in an alligator?
Why aren't you in one?
Now dig on this.
Hey!
Whoa.
Welcome to Classic Movie Banter.
Welcome.
You know that podcast... I'm going to start that again.
Welcome I fucked him up from the get-go, listeners. It's great.
Welcome to Classic Movie Banter. You know, that podcast where me, that guy Brenton, and that other guy over there, Nathan.
Hello.
We tell you about films that are 20 years or older.
20 years!
And we tell you whether those films are still worth watching today, or whether they're worth putting them in a fold-up aeroplane and then storing that airplane in the back of the truck, and then getting an elephant's ass and just folding a fake elephant's ass, I should say, and just folding that over the plane to hide it in the back of the truck. And then in a spontaneous moment when you're driving this truck down the highway, get in the plane, fly it up into the air to the exclamation and shock of other highway drivers, and you fly it up into the sky. You parachute out of that fold-up plane.
Jesus Christ. Listeners, welcome. It's another James Bond review. This is a tradition we do on the podcast where every month, there's 5 weeks, we decide to do a James Bond review. It's a weird rule we've got.
It was a rule that came into play when Nathan suggested this this great idea.
Let's review all the Bond films.
The idea itself the premise of it sounded like a cool idea. It's like, I haven't watched many James Bond films. I've only seen some of the Daniel Craig ones. And, I don't mind those. And, what a great way to look back through film history and the longest running franchise in cinema.
Yeah, it won't die, Brenton, no matter what.
In practice, it's been the worst idea ever.
Brenton's just tying the noose as we talk. But Brenton, there's another reason we're doing a Bond episode today. This was going to be the week where No Time to Die was going to come out. And what a celebration we would have had doing both a Bond movie and No Time to Die. But
sounds like a fun way to celebrate.
Yeah, we could have juxtaposed the old with the new, Brenton. Oh, we could talk about both. But alas,
good times.
Alas, Brenton, sadly it's been delayed to November, so...
Some would say it had time to die.
Yeah, apparently. There's plenty of time for this film to die. So if you're craving a Bond movie this week, Brenton, why instead of watching No Time to Die, why not focus on Octopussy, that iconic Bond film?
Nathan, I was thinking the exact same thing. Isn't it funny? We've got so much in common.
Wow. No, Octopussy, it's constantly on our minds.
Wow, we should just start a podcast.
We really should, Now that we're almost 100 eps in, this would be the time to actually start a podcast.
Yeah.
All right, Brad, well, sit down, buddy. Bloody, strap yourself in, because I'm going to pitch you the film Octopussy.
I'm buckled in.
Oh boy, because I'm about to tell you all about that Octopussy. All right, you ready?
Please stop saying it. Please stop saying it. All right.
Can you pitch me the movie? All right, Brenton, we're here. It's another James Bond movie. You know the drill. James Bond, he's got to do a thing and grab a MacGuffin and save the world. This time, Brenton, the main setting is India. We're going to India, Brenton.
Oh, that sounds exciting and interesting.
Wouldn't it? That's what you would think. And the reason we're going there, Brenton, is because it's the height of the Cold War. We're in the early 80s. And
right.
a rogue Russian general called Mr. Russia has decided to plant a bomb in West Germany and make it look as though World War III is about to start. So Bond has to find the bomb through a really convoluted means and try and stop it before it goes off.
I've got two questions. One is brought up because of something you brought up.
Oh.
And you said the word MacGuffin, and I was wondering, what kind of MacGuffin is at the center of this work? You know what I mean? What?
Brenton, are you a fan of Russian jewelry? Well, too bad, because you're going to be in this movie. Because we're featuring how do you say it? Fabergé eggs? We're featuring Fabergé eggs.
So they're not like goose eggs. They're Fabergé eggs. Okay.
Why? I don't really know why. They're just kind of a thing in India. Yes.
In India, okay. And the second question I had is, you said all that, and that's all well and good. It sounds like, a spy thriller. But the film is called Octopussy.
Yes.
And I was just wondering, how does that work in? You know what I mean?
Well, in the pitch reasons, it's because the main...
What is an octopussy?
what is an octopussy? I too, Brenton, was asking myself before this movie starts. And as a pitch, I would say Octopussy is a person who leads this criminal organization that Bond encounters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And may
All
also
right.
be an insignia we see later in the movie, but that's more telling than hinting at the moment.
Okay, is the Octopussy like is the
It doesn't involve cats, nor does it involve what you think it might. It may just be octopus
okay,
related.
I'm just checking what
There
the
we
logo
go.
was.
Brenton, this is a show for kids. I wouldn't bring up. Actually, no, this is not a show for kids.
We by
never
the way,
been a
on
show
all
for
of our
kids.
on all of our platforms, we explicitly say that the show has explicit content in it,
yes.
such as so we can say all the fucks and shits and get away with it. You know,
By
what I
the
mean?
sheer fact,
and the sheer fact that we can say the title of this film as well. you
yes,
know,
and it will also be in the title of our episodes. Classic Octopussy banter. That's what I'm thinking it will be called. Christ, I didn't even think of that.
Oh
till now.
no.
Tweet at us. What's your favorite title? Anyway, that's Octopussy, Brenton. Well done.
Thanks for that. I appreciate it, and thanks for humoring me with my questions.
Oh, and Roger Moore's the Bond. I just thought I'd clarify that as well.
Oh, he's back.
He's back.
again.
They're all back.
Is this his sixth time? Maybe?
Yes. Maybe final? I can't remember. I think he does one more after this.
Something I forgot to state at the start of the show, which, you know, I'm such a terrible host on this show because I forgot to say that the film was directed by John Glenn, who I believe this was he worked on Bond films in a directing capacity and also in an editing capacity as well. So he worked through the 60s and 80s on these films, and I think he worked on 8 Bond films during that time.
Oh wow! So we're in capable hands.
Yeah, he worked on Her Majesty's Secret Service, and he worked on The Spy Who Loved Me as well.
Oh
So
really?
there you go, just for some fun facts.
I can't remember if we
about-
liked those. I don't think we liked Majesty, and I don't think we liked Spy from memory.
I've already forgotten.
Whichever one has
So-
Jaws, we like that one. I think it's one of the ones we're giving a thumbs up. It's a good time. Anyway, Brenton, can I start us off today?
Yeah, absolutely, man. What did you think of the film?
I fucking love this movie. This is the Bond movie, Brenton, I've been waiting for since we started these reviews.
That is fantastic news to hear. Why?
Just
Why?
everything it does. It's like, you know what? I think this is the most James Bond movie you and I have ever reviewed. It's like, it's the height of the Cold War. Russia are the main antagonists. It's just got all these silly gadgets, all these exotic locations, the most stupid disguises that Bond wears, and I love it. I love every scene in this movie. It's a work of art, Brenton. I'm all for it.
Wait, you love every single scene in this movie.
I do, and I'll stand by it, motherfucker. You
Okay,
come
cool.
at me with your rebuttal.
That's
but
that's fine but the other thing I want to ask is that you said this is the most James Bond. This is in terms of like the James Bond, let's say genre or
Yes.
franchise. This is the most Bondy movie.
Yeah.
What makes it that?
because it doesn't take itself seriously for 2 seconds. Like
Okay, yeah. But my point to that is that most of the films we've watched in this franchise so far do take themselves very seriously. To a certain extent, like there's obviously a bit of tongue in cheek, but for the most part, they're taking the situations very seriously. And I agree that this one doesn't. So my question is that indicative of the Bond franchise, or is this kind of going left field, or you know what I mean? Like I'm not quite sure. Is this Bond, or is it Bond having a laugh, as it were?
I think it's the latter. It's definitely Bond just having a laugh, and like I think Roger Moore is still acting it straight, and I think that's why it's so funny. Like,
Okay, yeah, because for me, and here's the big reveal of my thoughts on this. I enjoyed it as well. Like, so I
I thought this wasn't going
to
to tickle you the right way.
Look, there's issues.
Oh,
We'll get to
okay.
them. So it's a mixed bag. So this film itself, I think, has, in terms of its set pieces, like the opening scene, where this film takes us, we go to multiple locations, and there's a lot of action and whatnot happening in this.
Which can be said for a lot of the other Bond movies.
Yeah, but in this one, like you said, the key factor is that it doesn't take itself too seriously, and I mean that statement to the extreme. I mean,
yeah.
There's some ridiculous shit that's happening in this, and it's lots of fun. Like, that's what I call this. I call it fun.
Brenton's like coming off a ride like, it was good. It was lots of fun.
I love Roger Moore as the character as well. I think he's brilliant as Bond.
Yes. A bit old, though, may I point out. Like, very old in this movie.
It's the 80s. The problem is that for as much as I just said that those featured moments are bombastic, ridiculous, over the top, camp, spy, pulp, basically. It'll then be followed up by moments that are just boring, plot points that are just and scenes that are just take us back to the dull, straight played shit that we've kind of grown accustomed.
That Brenton's been eating for months.
This film is, I think it's about 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah, it has no
this
business
runtime.
being that long.
And like, get rid of the 40 minutes, get rid of half an hour off this thing, and it's great.
I
You know
agree
what
with
I
that. Yeah.
And I think it'd just be so much better. But like I said, those moments that are fun, like the opening of this film,
Oh my goodness.
I was like, I couldn't believe it.
I
Like,
was literally shouting finally at the television, just like,
This is,
I've been
and I
waiting
agree
for
with you,
this.
Nathan, because in terms of, like you said, as kind of what Bond is as a franchise, and I think I've said this a few times in our reviews for the Bond films, is that this film is kind of what I thought it was meant to be, and that was just like a camp, fun spy thriller. You know what I mean? That was just stupid. Didn't take itself too seriously. Had a character that was a womanizer. That was never took the situation seriously at all. And
No.
Roger Moore never takes any situation in this seriously at all. And you can tell that in the other films as well. I mean, like, he's always more concerned with chasing the women in these scenes than he is with actually stopping.
This is probably the most I've seen Bond be really woman hunting in a movie before. Like he's really paying attention to the girls in this movie.
Yeah, and there's some issues with that, obviously.
Oh yeah,
as well.
obviously, like the male gaze is way too pertinent in this movie.
It's exactly, but I really it was kind of really full on in this one.
It definitely interrupted it, but I feel like I don't know. I don't know why I'm kind of leaning on forgiving it, because you shouldn't, and it's bad. But like, I feel like because nothing is done seriously, I'm just like, oh, this is all just stupid. Like, it makes me dismissal of it.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think that Octopussy, the character itself, and kind of her organization that she represents, is kind of an interesting. It's an interesting thing, and it shows. Like there's segments in this that show women in power and women taking control of a situation in action scenes and
Let
whatnot.
her
So that's
pull the
good to see.
trigger, I say.
Yeah, I mean, why not? But like I said, I think what holds this film together, I don't even know if I'm really mixed on how I'm going to rate this, but I'll say that those sequences are just so much fun, that are so bombastic and so ridiculous, is what you come to.
The choreography, I think, is what aids it, because like all the action sequences, I was also feeling tension. Like I was generally holding my.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Really, I wasn't. But that's okay.
That's
yeah,
okay.
There's some epic moments. Don't get me wrong. There's some epic moments, and
because it's all live action and all like proper
Yeah.
stunts, you're like, how the fuck did they film this?
totally. The last sequence in this film is pretty incredible.
Oh, yeah.
With what's going on.
We'll talk about that in spoilers big time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But like, that's an example of something of like the epic scale of these things is shown to its audience. And whilst I didn't necessarily have any tension, I thought the characters were going to be fine.
You know, James Bond's going to be fine, but anyone else could have died.
Could they have, like, I could kind of see what was going to happen at most points in this film. But at the same time, it was just an enjoyable romp in those moments, which was great.
It's the biggest romp of romps, you know?
But then it'd be followed up by some scene that was just too much talk about plot points and MacGuffins and things like that just get in the way. It's a bit like Rise of Skywalker in that sense. You know what I mean? That we're getting bogged down in this swamp of meaningless talk, which is important, I guess, for the plot, but it's so overly
It's not that intelligent in the same way that
exactly.
I remember when
Exactly.
I remember like when you and I saw that Bond movie. I think it was Pierce Brosnan or something like that, when he was like doing that oil pipeline in like Afghanistan, whatever that was. Like, remember that one? Was it The World Is Not Enough?
Was that Pierce?
Maybe. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. But I remember like we've seen Bond films like that generally thematically are trying to talk about something, or they're trying to aim to have a discussion on something. This film drops all pretense of trying to have themes or
But that's
character
fine.
arcs.
I'm not really concerned about that at all.
No, neither.
And
Which is weird.
in terms of the characters as well, like I like all the characters in this. I like the villain.
What do you think of Octopussy?
I like Octopussy. I don't mind her. I think it takes her too long for her to get any screen time.
It's a while before she rocks up. Also, interestingly, she's going to be played by Faye Dunaway.
I know, and she unfortunately didn't get to take the part.
No, would be good to see her though.
Yeah, it would have been. Well, I mean, Faye's brilliant.
Oh,
but I really love Khan, the villain. The
Khan.
I thought he was really, and obviously it's a really hammy performance at the same time, and it's.
But I like
and the
it.
guy, but I did enjoy him. In terms of the henchmen in this film.
Oh my god, iconic. We can't say what the gimmick is, but like amazing.
But I'd say there's two sets of henchmen in this film, though. So there's
Yes,
two.
the former and the latter are definitely stronger.
Yes, agreed.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes. The
yes.
latter. We'll talk about it in spoilers, but oh boy, is it a treat.
Well, okay, so the latter is actually introduced first in this film in a sequence, and I got very concerned that we weren't going to see the latter again.
Oh yes.
Because then we were introduced to the former, I love that we're using the former and the latter.
Here we go.
And we were then introduced to the former, who is actually kind of literally the latter. But anyway, in the way to describe it, the former, there was a scene in which I was just like, oh no, not this shit again. You know what I mean? Like I've had enough of this guy, this kind of stereotypical henchman guy, and I was like, he serves his purpose. But as soon as we got onto the latter, man, I got very excited, and I was so glad that they were in the film.
It's amazing. I also really love the Bond girls in this movie in general. I especially love the first one. I think she's really great. Also, Brendan, do you think she looks a lot like Charlize Theron?
No.
Look her up, listeners. There's something there.
But that's okay. I guess I can kind of see where you're coming from with Magda, that character.
Actually, speaking of lookalikes, do you reckon Octopussy looks like Melania Trump?
What?
Seriously, get some images up, listeners. Put them side by side. There's some similarities.
Interesting.
Not trying to make a statement with that. I'm just saying, yeah.
I'm not sure. I need to see an image side by side to really. In my head, no, but maybe you're right. I don't know. It's all about the lookalikes today, Nathan.
Oh, I tell you what. Let's recast this film. But no, yeah, the first Bond girl, really great.
I appreciate the filmmaking of this film too. I think like the chase there's a lot of chase sequences in this film.
And so many.
And all of them are using obviously practical effects. Like it's actually happening like behind the camera.
And I was gasping for it. Because you're like, how do they do this?
It's genuinely incredible how they did some of these sequences, particularly one that goes through like the through the streets of India.
Yeah, which is so funny, by the way. A lot of these action sequences are really going for the gags, and they're stronger for it.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
They're so stupid. I love it. I love it so much. Like, there's so many quick little gags in these action sequences. Like, stay for those alone.
And so yeah, I think like the sequences in the film really are what hold it up, but the in between really dragged it down for me. And so,
as in, like, you wish it was just take all that shit out and just keep it more ludicrous. Like,
I wish the plot was just a lot more streamlined. Like, so we weren't.
I thought it started streamlined, but then maybe like halfway through, the movie kind of halted, and then we got all this other stuff.
I feel it took a while for the film to get going, and I agree. Like, I think it. I think for the first half an hour, I was just like, it had such a great opening, and I was like, all right, let's get to it. And then there was a point where I was back on board. And then I agree that towards the end, there was a point as well that things started getting convoluted and there was just too much happening. And I was like, you know what, let's just streamline this and just get to the point. I get that you can have like some twists and turns. I think that's important. But the way that like the exposition especially is conveyed to the audience is just really dry, boring, and just too much incoherent and wordy dialogue that doesn't really match the rest of what this movie I think is going for, which is fun, silly, and yeah, like a wild ride. So I think that if it had been more in line with that and just easier concepts to grasp, which they're kind of easy concepts, it's just that the dialogue I think just needed to be streamlined a bit more, and those scenes needed to be shorter to get to those moments that we seem to have enjoyed. But at the same time, going into it, you have to understand that this is stupid.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
This is...
You need to know this. Like, anything deep and serious you've enjoyed, like GoldenEye or Casino Royale, you need to throw away. Like, get rid of it all.
This isn't that, and that's okay.
You're fond of me lobster, ain't you?
So if I'm to rate this, I'm quite conflicted. So I might let you go first because I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, because I understand where you're coming from. Like, it's definitely not an entry level Bond movie. Like, I think it feels like a breath of fresh air, but it's doing something very different from the other Bonds.
Would you be excited and happy to watch this for a second time?
Yes, I would, actually. And I was just thinking that. I really want to watch this again. Because there's... Okay. Especially also because I know what parts I can fast forward. When I put in the DVD. But like...
That's not a great thing to say, but continue.
But like... but in truth, like, I would. Especially compared to all the other Bonds we've done. This feels like it has life and vitality. And like the director has something to show. It's like also beautifully shot. This made me so keen to go to India. Like... Agreed. Especially like when you see like the hotels that Bond goes to.
Yeah.
I'm like...
The production design is... Chef's kiss.
It's amazing. It's so good. So I'm like, this was a beautiful advertisement for India. If you want to go to India, watch this movie. This will get you keen for it.
Some inventive costuming as well, I'll say.
Oh yeah, some of the most fun costuming we've ever had in a Bond movie. It's a good time. I really want to. I think compared to all the other Bonds we've done, this is genuinely my favorite. I love this more than Goldfinger. I love this more, even comparing it to like the bloody Daniel Craig ones. I think I love this probably. I think Casino Royale's better, as is Skyfall, but after those two, I think this is my third favorite. So I love this so much. I'm giving it a thumbs up, Brenton.
Mate. So that kind of, I guess, finalized my stance on it for the moment. This might change in the future.
If only we had a section where we looked back.
For me, whilst I agree, I think this is probably the most the most fun I've ever had watching a Bond film on this show. For me, I still think the high point is Casino Royale. For me, is the one that I look to.
Same.
But if I want to have some fun with a Bond movie and I think this is moments in it that are a good time. In saying that, I know that I've given thumbs up to films that I can't in this franchise that I can't even for the life of me really remember. So I honestly there's a few films that I've given thumbs up to, and I think I might have kept those thumbs up for the retrospective look back after the 10 episodes.
I think solely because of Jaws.
But I do regret that. I do, because I think of those films and I can't really remember moments. Like, they all just kind of pass by.
They all blend together, don't they?
Exactly.
Yeah. Maybe we should do a retrospective, you know?
Yeah, I think we'll need to at some stage because... but my point is with this, that kind of made up my mind, because for me, even though I did enjoy those moments, as a whole, I don't think I'd watch this again, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, Brenton, it's a fun time.
I'd honestly rather watch Casino Royale. I'm not the biggest fan of Skyfall, but I'd rather watch that as well, like, to be honest.
But have you got an old Bond you'd recommend over this?
I can't even remember them, dude, so, like, no.
What about the one where he goes to Japan? Okay, what about the one with Jaws? Did you have more fun with Jaws than this?
No, I thought this, like I said, I think this is the most fun I've had watching one of these for the podcast. But in saying that, I still don't think I can
You still
give it a
don't like
thumbs
the
up.
old Bond movies, Brenton.
I still can't. It's just not a good film in that sense as well. Like
How
as
dare
a
you.
whole, I couldn't watch this in a full setting. I'd watch the opening, and like you said, I'd fast forward and go to the moments and watch some of the silly circus stuff that happens like in this thing, and watch those moments, and that's all fun. But the interludes are just so cumbersome that I just can't. I just know I'm going to regret it. I know I'm going to and maybe, and honestly,
Brenton's like grabbing the girl by the shoulder saying, we have to break up now before we fall in love.
Hey, I'll give this its dues, and maybe at the end of this set of 10 episodes, I might come back and go, you know what, I was wrong. I can remember all these sequences, and I can remember the bloody egg, and I can remember all these moments that we'll talk about in the next segment.
Oh yeah.
But for the moment, I'm going to stick my thumbs down. But while saying that, this has a lot of fun in it, that I let out a sigh of relief, for a few moments of just this bombastic silliness is kind of what I thought this. Yeah, man. Which is what I thought this was. And whilst the film as a whole, I don't think is necessarily holds up, those moments do, and they're worth watching those clips on YouTube and have some fun. So that's where I kind of stand.
I'm sorry to hear that. I respectfully and vehemently disagree, but that's okay.
That is okay. That's why we do this show, man.
It is why we do this show.
So we can respectfully disagree on air, and then afterwards we have knife fights.
I mean,
so it's all good.
We also launder tax money through this show, so it's there's a whole other thing on this. But that's not enough for me to say.
Speaking of which, if you wouldn't mind giving us a review on the podcast.
We really need some numbers so the Australian tax, so the ATO doesn't get a hunch.
Make sure you like that YouTube video, just please.
Oh, please.
Help us out.
We have so much money to launder. Please. You too can be a part of the organisation.
Nathan, I feel like we're gonna run into trouble if we keep making these kind of jokes one day.
But that's how they don't suspect us, because we're joking, Brenton. Ha ha. Oh no, we're spoiling the movie now.
Let's spoil this thing.
You spoiled it.
What?
The movie.
Oh. Nathan, where do we start?
Jesus Christ. I've never written so many moments that I've loved in a movie down. Do you want to go through this shit chronologically? Maybe they'll have like a natural flow to it.
I think that's probably the best idea, because I'd like to start with the opening and talk about how much fun this was, that we had that plane. Like, I just want to talk about the segment where the plane is in the back of that truck that they commandeered.
And you don't see it coming, because like he's being cornered by all the like cars going, oh shit, what's going to happen next?
And there's plenty of shots of this elephant's ass with a tail hanging out of the back of this truck, and you're just kind of like, what's going on
right now?
And when that thing folds, when that truck folds open and that the elephant ass folds up, and that plane with the wings folded up just kind of rolls out.
Oh, and it's actually happening.
And you see like the British flag on it, and you're just like, oh dear.
My goodness. And it takes off very quickly because the cars are coming close, but it manages to get ground high.
Yeah, man. I think that's all we need to really talk about in that scene.
I just love the moment before he gets in the plane where he's been taken hostage by the guards, and like the chick pulls over, like who's like working with him, and Bond is like just kind of like egging the guards on to check her out. Like,
hey, look at this girl.
Because it goes on for so long. Like there's like a good like 10 shots of just cutting back and forth of Bond being like, wee, just like raising his eyebrows, and the chick's like leading him on.
And they still fall.
Oh
for
my
it.
god, it's great.
Then the other thing in this opening as well is that we see the first disguise that Bond utilizes in this film, which is when she just tapes that mustache on his
Those
on his
filthy
upper
mo.
lip. Oh man, and that's the first, because I was like, oh, that's cool. He's going to use a disguise. I know it's just the mustache, but that's fun. And little did I know how many more of these fucking things we were going to get in this film.
Because when you first saw the clown run away, I thought that was Bond. Like
I did too for a moment. I literally, so the note I have for that is, no way this is happening. The clown.
I mean, that's the way you open a film. Like, I didn't know we were watching Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. Like, this is amazing.
And later on, we find out it's 009 who Bond later avenges. But and it's the first moment that we see the as we were calling them, the latter henchmen, as we were talking about, the two knife wielding twins.
Oh my goodness!
That are hurling knives at this clown.
They're great. They're so good.
That for a knife in the back, that clown as well, like, makes it a fair way. He still makes it to like the British embassy or whatever it is, like to their, like, where they're having like a gala or something, and he just stumbles in, smashes through the window.
Oh my god, that's so
and lands
good. This
with
poor
the
woman who
fake
sees
egg.
like a clown just like smash through the glass.
I was like, well, that's one way to traumatize someone.
And he like rolls the thing forward. I'm like, Jesus, like that's gonna be a good like party story. They're just like, oh, this one time I was chatting that a fucking clown came through the window. Like,
ridiculous.
It's so terrifying. I love it. I love it so much. The costume design's amazing, and I feel like the costume designer must have like smacked down some demand, saying, okay, this is our 13th movie, here's all the costumes we got to use. It's like, I'm playing that card. And also, I feel like the set designer is the unsung hero of this movie, because one of my favorite gags of this movie is when we're in the Russian war room, and it could almost be a scene from Doctor Strangelove. Like, they're so serious, and they're all talking about how they're gonna, like, you know, nuke the West.
There's some terrible acting going on there, especially the as we find out, that ends up being the lead Russian, like, villain of this film.
Oh yeah,
when he
the
first spoke,
I
thought he was some lackey at first, and then I realized, oh no,
he's our primary villain.
Because I was like, wow, where's the note? This acting is terrible. That Russian, and then I drew this face of like someone vomiting.
I mean, he's no good. I mean, they're all no good, but I kind of like it because they're so stale.
It's kind of the point as well.
Yeah,
like it's so campy and stupid at the same
and
time.
Generic
it's kind
as well. It's like, oh
yeah,
we're gonna be stormed by the West. It's like they just want an excuse to have like the Russians attack. But I love it because they're all doing the most dry acting and like with the most emotionless faces, and then the table fucking rotates.
Yeah,
and it's spinning, and all of them are so bored by it. Like they're all just still sitting there. It's like they're going half around the room. I'm like, why didn't you just put it on the screen in front of you? Why did you need to rotate to see this new screen? It's great.
Nathan, have you ever had any experience with pickpocketing?
No, Brendan, I don't think I have, but have you?
Do you think you could go to a fucking high stakes auction with items that are, you know, worth a lot of money and manage to inspect one of these items and manage to swap one of those items in front of everyone?
I was thinking that too, because all eyes are on Roger Moore as he's doing this. Like, there's no like little hand trick.
But also, like, he's inspecting it, and for some reason he puts the egg under his book into his lap.
It's the
and
most
then, like, brings
obvious
it out
thing
again.
in the world.
And no one bats an eyelid. All eyes in the room are on him, and no one bats an eyelid as to why someone inspecting something that he. It's not even like he brings the egg closer to his face.
No, he holds it further away. Oh.
It's ridiculous. It's so funny.
And like the assistants like sitting next to him sweating bullets going, oh no, 007, we can't bet all this money. And you didn't really think for a second he was actually going to buy it. It's like, come on, mate. Also, it's weird that he just didn't disclose the plan to his like superior before it had happened. It's like, yeah, I'm going to steal the egg. It's like, it's weird. And like when he does it, like a double, like MI6 just kind of like shrugs and goes, oh yeah, I guess we'll keep the egg. It's like,
yeah, bizarre, right? Bizarre.
But the scene reminded me a lot of the art auction scene from North by Northwest.
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah. Or is it Chinatown? I forget. But whatever that art scene was that you and I reviewed, where like, I think it's North by Northwest because he keeps on fucking it up. Remember? He's just like...
Yeah, it's North by Northwest.
Oh,
yeah.
I kind of wish...
Oh, wait, no. Is it? Oh, no.
Oh, it might be Chinatown. I can't remember.
What scene is that from? All right, guys. We're gonna do that segment on the show again
Ah.
where Brenton looks things up on the Google.
Classic thing. I'll keep the listeners entertained in the biggest air quotes possible.
I'm gonna let's place bets. I'm gonna bet. Well, I think we're both betting the same thing, that it's North by Northwest.
I think it's
right?
North by Northwest. Yeah, we should remember this. But I just love it. I also love that, like, the main motive of Bond doing that is that he wants the other guy just to spend more money. Like, he gets the guy to spend another, like, £100,000 just for the sheer fact of, like, screwing him over. It's great.
Okay, so there is a clip on the YouTube where you can also find this show. And it's called Trolling the Auction, North by Northwest, released in
Perfect
1959.
name.
It's fantastic. So yeah, you were right.
Fantastic. It's wonderful. Brenton, what do you think of the Indian chase scene?
Okay, so this is brilliant.
This is genuinely brilliant.
They're in their little tri-car buggy things, you know, and they're going.
Like, they've just landed. They're in the tuk-tuk.
And this is all happening. Like this action scene is happening in real time. You know, there's moments where like these cars are pulling up next to each other. There's random melee weapons being used, such as like
goodness.
a like one of those like shuriken like throwing stars, but it's like a giant one of them.
Yeah!
that Bond gets
I was like,
stabbed.
what?
He gets stabbed in the chest with, but it ends up just like impaling the cash that's in his breast pocket of his suit for some reason, which does like that thing like goes all the way in. Like there's no way
Oh,
that
yeah.
it doesn't like
I was
impale
wondering
him.
how he survived the sword. I'm like, what? He should be dead.
And then it's like 2 wads of cash, like 2 little wads of cash that apparently that's all it managed to impale. And I was like, that's bullshit, but we'll let it pass because this is the scale of this is just amazing that this
it's
is actually
incredible.
happening. And as an interesting little fact, did you know when that cyclist like goes in between the 2 vehicles and they like pull apart and the cyclist goes through and then they come together and they keep fighting again?
Oh, yeah?
It was not actually planned. So that was like
Oh,
an improvised moment. Yeah, where the Indian so this is in the Indian cabbie chase sequence when a cyclist rode between the 2 battling vehicles, providing that suspense. That wasn't planned. That wasn't meant to
God.
happen.
Was everyone okay?
Yeah, well, you see it. It's in the film.
Jeez. There's a lot of that going on in this movie. It reminds me of when the car came off the train tracks and it fell into the river.
Yeah.
Because there's that story
Yeah.
where like you see a guy like genuinely almost hit by the car and that happened in real life. Like they fucked up.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
If you look at the movie, like as the car lands in the water and crushes this boat, this guy like barely made it unscathed. And that's because... Oof,
Yeah.
they didn't plan that well.
Interesting as well. Like, there's a lot of stunt shit that went wrong in this film because, like, in the Octopussy assassination attempt, when
Oh, yeah?
Bond and her are in the bed, and then he pushes her off, and the
We'll talk about that in a
classic
sec, yeah.
The classic saw yo-yo that is used in this film. So the guy doing that, Bond grabs that rope and he pulls him off, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
falls onto the bed. So that guy actually broke his arm when that sequence
Oh,
was filmed.
really?
When he fell onto the bed. And he had a full cast on and everything. And so they were like, all right, well, we're going to have to replace this stunt guy. And he refused and wanted to complete all of the scenes he was scheduled to do, which he did,
Oh my God.
with a broken arm.
A+ to that guy. Well done.
I know.
That's amazing.
What a-
I love that
what
with
a
all these
champ.
fuck ups, they just still kept them in the movie. They're like, may as well. It's like, oh.
Hey, suffer for your art, man. Like, they were like, we know.
Oh, genuinely. But I just love it.
Crazy.
I just love it in that Indian chase scene. Like when the Indian driver's like whacking the guy with a tennis racket. Like, why is this your choice of weapon? And it wasn't until I was doing the research that I realized that guy's a famous tennis player.
You're kidding.
Yeah. His name, I'm going to butcher this. I'm so sorry, everyone. But it's Vijay Amitraj. And like, yeah, back in the 80s, he was a huge tennis player. And then, so like, he's like, oh, I want to be in a Bond movie. And they just decided for no reason to give this character a tennis racket because they're just like, fuck it. People be like, hey, it's a tennis player doing the tennis thing.
The character's name is Vijay, though.
No. That's the actor's name, sorry.
No, but I know.
Oh,
But
wait, the character's also named Vijay.
I'm looking at the cast list and I'm going, the character's actually called Vijay because one of my notes was actually that I really liked the character of Vijay and I was sad that he passed away in the film. Like, because I kind of thought he was a fun little ancillary like side character that worked well with Roger Moore, I thought. And I thought him, M and Bond together like made a good trio, like in some of those scenes.
Yeah, I actually really liked him. He reminded me of Felix, like Bond's American friend. Like, yeah. But like Bond's Indian friend. I'm like, oh, bring this guy back. He's great.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it was a shame that he passed on during the film. That he got razor. What would you call that? A razor
Buzzsword? I don't know.
He got yo-yo buzzsword.
Oh, jeez.
And that was the end of him.
Reminded me a lot of the bloody helicopters from that other Bond film with their buzzswords.
Maybe because he was such a famous tennis player, they couldn't schedule him in to be in scenes in the third act, because it's very strange how like
He's
M,
just randomly killed.
He's killed and M isn't there when it happens, and then he comes back. He's like, and I came back and he was dying, and I was like, what?
M's like whips, like
because he calls out for M and M just isn't there. Like, where did M go to get an ice cream?
Yeah, I thought they were changing shifts. I thought he's like, oh, it's midnight, I'm going to go to sleep, and he's like,
maybe
oh,
that's it. Yeah. Maybe M was. Who knows what M does?
Who knows what M's doing? I love that moment when M was like, he's like surrounded by all the women, and he's like, no, there's no time for this, and he looks at them again, and he's like, well, maybe a little bit, like.
He's like, maybe later.
And you're like, oh, M, bless you. But I want to acknowledge this Indian chase scene, because I think it's probably the smartest chase scene that uses its environment creatively.
Oh,
Because there's moments where like Bond uses like the guy who lays on the bed spikes.
This might be the best line in the film, which is, so there's that fight scene that happens, and he flips that other guy onto the bed spikes as the entertainer gets up, and then the entertainer looks at the guy who has just been murdered.
Yeah, murdered
on his
straight
set of
up.
spikes, like there's spikes impaling this guy like into his organs, and this guy's probably bleeding out in front of him, and he's like instant death, and there's probably blood everywhere. It's probably a gory ass scene. The guy looks down and screams at this deceased corpse, "Get off my bed."
It's like, jeez. Like, this man is so insensitive. It's like, I mean, you know, like, he's probably seen some shit in his time. But, like, I love how, like, the action scene's going on and he's still just, like, comfortably laying on his bed as well. Like,
Yeah, and he just casually stands up.
yeah.
Like,
In the most, like, nonchalant way. It's like, it reminds me as well, like, when he, Bond uses, like, the sword swallower's sword. And, like, and he's slashing away. And then he gives it back. He's like, oh, you might need to clean this before he walks off. It's so
Ridiculous.
good. I just think, I wish I saw more action scenes where, like, they creatively used the world that they're in. Like, I've seen so many, like, Bond scenes as well, where they're just going through environments and just, like, not, you know, using, like, the extras or all that kind of stuff. Like, it's great. There's so many good moments.
Agreed.
Like when he throws the money and it lands in that guy's, like, donation tin. Like, little stuff like that. It just adds to the movie.
Or when he, like, he reaches over to VJ and he's like, "Give me the cash I gave you," and then he, like, uses it to bring the swarms into, like, when they're all, like, fighting over
that's
cash.
great.
And then it finishes with that famous scene. Like, I knew about this moment for some reason.
Oh.
Which is when they go through they drive the cab through the poster, right? And then, like, the next poster
that's
like
right.
slides down over it and they get away. Like, I just knew that moment was, I didn't know it was in this movie, but I saw that, I was like, I recognize that. I recognize that scene.
It's good. And then Bond's like, the power of advertising. It's like...
Mate, the quips are on point in this, aren't they?
They're amazing. And, like, all of them are earned as well. I feel sorry afterwards for, like, that poor bird in the birdcage who has to be the key for the MI6 headquarters. It's like, it's like tweeting about as like its cage has been rotated. Oh, the poor thing.
Poor thing.
Oh.
Poor thing. What about that poor octopus?
Oh.
That's Home is smashed to pieces, and so he launches itself on that guy's face.
And when I saw that, I'm like, it's a blue ring octopus. Like, that thing's deadly. Like,
yeah, but what's it doing to him?
I think it's just sucking at it, eh? Like,
I don't know.
Ooh.
It was kind of like it was kind of giving me facehugger vibes from Alien, because it goes to a shot of that guy still on the floor with the octopus on his face, and the octopus is kind of like gyrating over his mouth, and I was like, what's happening there? Like,
there's something going on. It's like, because you can see, because Octopussy feeds that octopus a lot in the movie. Like, she's like constantly feeding it. So I don't know. Maybe it's wanted flesh for ages. Like, I don't know what Octopussy. Like,
maybe it's doing a workout. Maybe it needs to get rid of some of the carb loading it's been doing. You know, and it needs to just it's a slim down,
wrapping its way around. Like, that would have been great. It's just like Bond flings the octopus. I'm surprised they didn't use it as a weapon later on. He's just throwing octopuses at the bad guy. But speaking of that octopus, how fucking ridiculous is that moment when, like, he sees the chick's octopus tattoo and he's like, what's that? She's like, that's my Octopussy.
I actually thought his reaction was priceless to that.
Yeah,
because
it's great.
Because it was the total, like, what the fuck?
Like, his face is genuine. I wonder if that's the first take that they used. Because,
he's just like, what did you just say to me? Like, what the that's my little Octopussy. And he's just like, what?
He's just so confused. And also, it's a confusing thing. Which also, because she chats later on saying, oh no, I've got this cult of women, like, smuggling shit over the world. So does that insinuate that they've all got the same tattoo?
I think so. I think it's part of, like,
Jesus.
The cult.
It's also weird that she keeps that name because, like, what her, like, dad named her or whatever it was. Like, really? That's the name you decide to keep?
We're going to talk about that later on.
Oh, okay.
Don't you worry.
Very well.
We're going to talk about that later on. So she then jumps out the window, ties her dress, and then like her whole dress unfolds as she like falls out the window.
Oh my God.
And because Bond basically gives her the egg, which they don't bat an eyelid at
No,
all.
and it's very obvious that he does. Like,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Oh, I snuck away."
And then she jumps out the window, jumps in the car in her underwear now.
Oh my
because
goodness.
her whole dress unfolds. Like when she does this, it's like, how is that thing staying on?
Also,
You know,
why
like-
not just leave through the front door?
I know.
Why does she go off the balcony?
He's not stopping you.
No, he's not. And it's like, and it was a very amicable leave. Like, I don't know why she did it. It's so funny because like, I love it because like the villain like kind of shoots him a little look as like she gets to the car, and they both have like this like, oh, Octopussy, am I right? Like,
Yeah. Well, Nathan's. I want to say Nathan. James has got a big smile on his face in that moment.
Oh, jeez.
As they drive off. Something we forgot to talk about though earlier on that happens in this film is that there is a gambling scene and it involves dice. And no, I'm not talking about Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. I'm talking about Octopussy, which involves obviously another kind of octopus. But during this scene, Bond realizes that Khan is using loaded dice, and so he uses his own dice.
Yeah, in the
It's a
most
double
obvious
six.
way.
And whatever, and that's what happens in the scene. And then this henchman dude, this other henchman, just this big, strong guy, with a turban.
Oh yeah,
Picks up the dice and like
movie.
crushes them like into dust.
And the camera like
dice.
zooms in on him like as he's doing it, and it's
full on.
and you can tell it's meant to be threatening. Like he's meant to be very intimidating as he does it, but you can't take this shit seriously, can you?
I know. It's like it's just so random.
Like this is what you decide to do. Like
that was the point in the film I got very worried. I was like, oh no, this is going to be our henchman for the rest of the movie, and
thank
we're never
God
going to
it
see
wasn't.
those. We're never going to see those knife twins again, and they were awesome. And I was really excited to see that interaction happen, but we're stuck with this kind of. It's like another Jaws basically, without the part that made Jaws cool, which was the teeth.
yeah, exactly. Which is why I was
like-
so fucking excited when we got the guy with the yo-yo buzzsaw.
The yo-yo buzzsaw is just the most ridiculous thing.
It's so stupid.
How does that thing work? How does it have the momentum
How
to,
does it
to
not
soar?
slice him when it comes back up?
I don't know. That's it. Like, but how does it even get the momentum? Like, in terms of physics, like, how is it
Yeah.
moving that fast?
Because it
to, like,
comes
soar
down
through
at quite a
like
speed.
it's soaring through furniture. Like, you know what I
Also,
mean?
when
Like,
it lands, it moves forward somehow. Like,
yeah, it's bizarre.
I don't know how it's used. Also, just use a gun. How is that better than a gun? Like, it's so convoluted.
How funny is that like old dude when that yo-yo is introduced? That's like doing the weird like cackle.
Oh
He's
my
like,
god.
like about.
Actually, my favorite sound of the movie was when Bond is escaping by pretending to be a dead body, and like the guys are trying to throw the dead bodies down the hill, and then he wakes up and pretends to be a zombie and spooks them off.
It's like, ooh.
He's like, whoa! He gives like this weird like, whoa, and they're all running away.
And then we have the jungle chase sequence,
my
which is
God.
lots of
That's
lots of
amazing.
fun.
That's really
When he
good.
when he goes into the tiger den and tells the tiger to sit. And it does.
Shut sit at him. And it fucking works. Okay, so whenever you and me are lost in the jungle, or if we're ever doing a jungle book and we're like Mowgli, let's just shout sit at Shere Khan and see if that works.
I'm sure it will. I
Oh.
mean, Bond did it, so,
That's amazing because he survives the spiders and he survives that snake that slides over him. Like,
and-
he goes unscathed for too long.
he doesn't get trampled by the elephants, and there's snipers on the elephants
Jeez.
as well. And then he doesn't get eaten by the alligator either
my
that's
goodness.
chasing after him. And then he gets onto like the tour boat or whatever. And they say,
is
"Oh,
amazing.
were you part of our tour?" And again, this film and its quips, he says, "No, I was."
I was on the economy tour.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Oh.
it. It's
I love that they're just like, oh, were you with us? Like they see him like clearly running for his life, avoiding a croc and jump onto the boat, and some chick still has the audacity to be like, oh, you on the tour? Like, what do you think, lady? Like, how can you not
Ridiculous.
love this movie, Brenton? Listen to all this shit we're talking about.
yeah, I know.
This is amazing.
I still have my reasons.
This is amazing. The crocodile sub is amazing. All of this is amazing.
I guess the next thing we got to talk about in terms of spoilers is the carnival stuff, like when we start going
my
to the
goodness.
circus and the real plot of this thing.
into Dr. Doolittle's like circus.
Well, because he basically infiltrates there's a train sequence on this as well, like another chase sequence that happens like on the train,
It's littered with chase sequences.
which involves those knife twins and him like dressing up as one of them, and then them fighting on top of the train carriages, and,
Which is
which was
great.
all like. which is amazing to watch. You're like, wow, like
'Cause
this
it's
is
real.
actually happening.
Yeah. I had the same reaction in Skyfall as well when he was on the top of the train. I'm like, it's good seeing Bond on a train.
Yeah. I loved, dude, train sequences are awesome.
They're always good. Always.
Whenever like you see someone that's trying to like, you know, climb and jump over carriages and they work their way across and like undoing latches and letting carriages go behind them and trying to get rid of someone, like it's
so
just
good.
Awesome.
I'm so excited to see even that sequence inevitably ruined by the Cursed Child movie.
Anything from the trolley dears?
Oh Christ! Oh, don't get me started. But it's done well in this. It's done really, really well. And like, I love it. Like when he's under the train, he's narrowly avoiding stuff. Like, and all the fights in it when he stuffs the guy in the cannon. Like, all of it's good.
Oh yeah,
like, yeah. And especially the gorilla suit. Bless him. Like, it's amazing that no one notices him in that. And especially when how does he get out? By the way, because when like the guy swings the sword at the gorilla suit and Bond's already like halfway up the ladder, it's like he makes a lot of quick changes in this movie.
Bond is the master of disguise,
apparently,
and of apparition. You know what I mean? Like he just.
But the best payoff is that he finally puts on the clown suit, which is when I was screaming.
which is set up like from the start. You know, when we see 009, and it's in the climax of the film that he finally like. Oh, actually, no, it's not quite. It's like the climax of that section of the film.
The movie does weirdly go on after that, and I didn't think it should have.
Yeah,
like
because then we have them storming the Khan's base, basically Khan's castle, and Bond comes in via hot air balloon.
Oh my god! Of course.
And then we have that extraordinary plane sequence.
Yeah, that was so good. That was so good. I think the last time I saw a Bond in a plane like that was Quantum of Solace when they're like crashing into Bolivia.
It is impressive.
Yeah.
It's like probably before The Dark Knight Rises came out, like one of the most like intense and I'd say just well done plane chases, plane sequences I'd seen.
This is amazing and so tense as well. This is where I felt the real tension. Like,
oh really? I kind of knew it was going to be fine.
Just because the sheer sight of seeing him actually in real life clinging to a plane.
Yeah. It's crazy. I was thinking logistically, if I was on that plane, what the fuck I'd be doing.
Yeah.
And just like there's no like obviously in real life, there's no way you'd be able to hang on to that thing. Like there's no way. And even if you didn't manage to find a little nook or something and like manage to get past the buckets of like tailwind and whatnot that is like blasting you off the thing, it then flips upside down and there's nothing that his feet are really holding on to. And I was like,
Bond's grip in this movie is superhuman. By the way, at several points in the film.
That's his secret superpower. And then obviously there's like the little knife fight that happens on the outside.
I love
of
it
the
when Khan asks the henchman to go up and he's like, go on. He's like, get out of the plane.
Dude, I was gonna say as well, that henchman though, as much as like I was like, oh, it's a bit stereotypical and we've seen this so many times before, he's the most loyal henchman, I think.
Yeah, the fact that he does it, it's like
he has a moment where he's like, and then he goes, yeah, okay, boss, I'll do it. You know,
anything for a job.
What a legend. And he gets blasted off that thing with a funny scream, and then Bond makes his way into the plane, and then you're thinking, oh, he's going to try and take over the plane or whatever, and he doesn't. He just grabs the girl, the plane flies low, and the guy tries to land, Khan tries to land for a bit, and gives them time. Thank goodness, I guess, to jump out of the plane.
Unscathed.
Unscathed. And then the plane continues over a cliff, turns back into the cliff and explodes. And Khan's final shot in this film is hilarious. It's like
it almost stole the movie.
split second. It's a split second. And he's just like, and he pulls this like ridiculous face, and then the plane explodes.
The face of a man who knows he's about to die. It's just like, it's amazing. It's a beautiful explosion as well. I just find it very funny how similar this ending is to the Mission Impossible films.
Oh, I haven't seen any. Sorry. I've seen one. Sorry, I've seen the most recent one. That's the only one.
Oh, good.
I've ever seen.
Because I'll draw parallels then. Spoiler alert for Mission Impossible 5 and 6. So Mission Impossible 5, everyone for the marketing for that movie was making a big deal about how in real life Tom Cruise was clinging to the side of a plane when it was like taking off. And I'm like, Roger Moore did this like 30 years ago. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, he did Tom Cruise long before it. And then when you think the Mission Impossible parallels stop, the end of this film where they're on the rocks is identical to the end of Mission Impossible 6 at the end. When like they fall off the plane and like, and Tom Cruise is clinging to the rocks. Like, as like Henry Cavill falls down.
Is that a plane or a helicopter?
It might be a helicopter. But I think it's more like him clinging onto the rocks. I'm like, oh, this is very Mission Impossible 6.
And yeah, I guess then this film ends in the classic Bond fashion of shows us a a sex scene on a boat with a
As-
rowing
as so
formation
many.
that is led by a rowing formation on this boat that they keep chanting in and out like as commands.
Oh
and
my
it's like,
God.
that is not how you row it. I guess it's because of
No.
the sexual innuendo. I get that, but it's the most ridiculous thing ever.
It's
that
so
just made me. Oh,
It's just you just roll your eyes and you're like, Christ, this film and this
but
relationship
it's also
to
like
sex.
they say, oh, we need this to happen, and we'd like our artifacts back or whatever. The Russians to the British.
Mm.
They say, well, I'm sure that we can arrange, but Bond's isn't back yet because his injuries have caused him to not be able to travel for some time. And so you see him like having this scene with Octopussy, and his legs raised, he's got a cast on or whatever, and then she's like, I can't remember what the lines are, but he rips this thing off and just grabs her and like rolls her over, and she's like, oh, you're faking it.
Yeah, he's meant to be
It's like-
injured. It's like, and yet here he is.
and he's obviously faking it, but it's such a weird
Oh,
last scene.
such a weird way of ending. And then the credits just roll up, and you're just like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
great.
And it's over. Yeah,
It's all done.
2 hours 20 minutes. Wow,
Oh, yeah, way too long. What would you have cut out if you wanted to improve the film?
just a lot of the fluff. A lot of the.
So just like the convo stuff, like
Oh yeah, just streamline it. Like just cut it
Yeah.
down and get to those action
even just start us
scenes,
off in
quickly.
India, maybe. Just like cut out that stuff before.
No, I love. Actually, yeah, you're probably right because for the sake of the plot, why do we? The opening doesn't really
No, we don't need to
add
do
to
that.
anything.
Just have the
No.
egg already be in India, but I understand why. It's like, yeah, I
Yeah.
totally get that. Oh, Brenton.
Well, Nathan, shall we get into some special segments?
Yeah, let's do it.
Special segment.
Ooh, so special.
This week we're going to do a brand new segment on the show.
I love it. What's it called, Brenton?
It is called "What is the creepiest line in this film or this movie?" What is the creepiest line in this movie or from this movie?
There's so many candidates, Brenton. Do you want to start us off, bud?
Yeah, I will. So
Which, by the way, none of these are okay. They should be cut out, but here we are.
okay, I can't remember the specific line. So I'm going to butcher it, unfortunately, but you'll get the idea of what I'm trying to get across. She says that Octopussy says in relation to her father and her relationship to her father, who she loved, that he gave her the love of octopuses because he loved octopi for some reason.
Yeah.
And she says something along the lines of, "Oh, well, my father's nickname for me was Octopussy," and all I could think of was, "Oh dear." Like,
What did your dad think?
if you went over to like a friend's, like, a teenage friend's house that happened to be female, and their father called out, "My little Octopussy, can you come here?"
Jesus Christ. And you know what? Since this film's come out, there probably has been someone that's done that.
Oh goodness me!
I feel
I don't
so
care how much.
sorry for
I
that
don't
person.
care how much you love octopuses and how much like you've given your love to these creatures to your daughter. It's no excuse to call your daughter not an octopus, like, "Oh, my little octopus, my little Octopussy."
Oh.
Oh,
It's just painful. What do you think's worse, Octopussy or Pussy Galore? What's the worst name you'd have?
I actually think it's Octopussy.
I think so too. Like, they're both no good, but geez. And the fact that she so genuinely like looks back on this fondly, it's like, lady, it's like you must have met people that gave you shit for this. It's like, come on, like, the line.
Nathan, what's the line that you've picked from this
The
film
line
that's
I thought,
creepy?
the line that I thought was the creepiest by a mile, jeez, was the fact when they're talking about the island that's only made up of women, and then they're telling Bond about this, and he says, and I quote, "Ooh, sexual discrimination. I'll definitely have to pay it a visit." Jesus Christ, like, mate. Oh, like there's self-aware and then there's just self-harm, and you're falling into the latter. Like it's just no good, mate. Like,
Oh no!
oh
No,
dear,
no.
jeez. Oh.
Well then, Nathan,
What's-
shall we see what stills this film?
Yeah, let's do it.
Ooh, it's blinding. So Nathan, this week I chose the still, and this segment revolves around a still or a frame from the movie that we watch. And we choose this frame based on the fact that it might be something that's funny, that's poignant, or it just could be a beautiful piece of cinematography that was captured, and we just want to share it with you guys. And you can find these stills on our Instagram and on our YouTube pages, and the links are below. So check it out.
Check
so you
them
can
out.
Have a look
Click,
what we're
click,
talking
click,
about.
click, click. So how would you describe this, Brenton?
So this is from the opening. It's one of the final shots of the opening, and for some reason, Bond has got on his getaway little fold-away plane, and he's escaped the missile that's been launched at him, and he's managed to get away. And then he's noticed for some reason that he's run out of fuel.
Of
He
course.
has to land. So he lands the plane on some random dirt road, and happens to have enough fuel to just pull the plane over into a gas station. This shot shows when the plane has just pulled up alongside some regular country town, like, remote gas station.
It's got like its classic hillbilly just sitting in the armchair, just like,
sitting in the armchair next to the gas machine, and Bond is just sitting. The wings are folded up in his plane, and he's just sitting there. And this is followed by one of the greatest quips of the film, which is when he says, "Fill her up." And a funny fact about that quip was that this was actually cut from the original cut of the film.
Oh,
and
really?
Yeah. It was initially removed, "Fill her up."
I wonder why.
So it was only when he went to his local cinema, John Glenn, the director, and he saw the trailer, which actually included the line, and it went down apparently really well with audiences. They loved it. So he decided
so did we,
to.
Brenton.
Yeah, I mean, so did I. So
It's
he
a pretty
reinstated
good
it
line.
into the film, and oh my goodness, that made me laugh out loud. Not only this still and everything it encapsulates, like some random prototype plane folded up at some remote ass gas station with some guy sitting in the cockpit just waiting for.
And he does it. The guy like fills it up. Like,
yeah, like for this guy to fill it up. I mean, like, where is like the fuel like cap in this thing?
yeah.
do
Also,
you
does it
reckon?
take the fuel that they have in the station? Does this plane require it? Like,
Nathan?
and
It must run on diesel.
yeah, obviously. That's why it ran out so fucking quickly. But I think, Brenton, it's so good you picked this still because it just perfectly like represents just the ludicrousness of this movie.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, well, hey,
Hey,
let's look at this film's poster. Brenton,
yes,
let's look at this film's poster.
but is it art? I love this poster.
Same, actually. This is really strong. I also love how... So what it is, listeners, links in the, below if you want to see the poster, how it's James Bond standing there and he's like got the Bond girl behind him, but he's got 8 arms wrapped around him. I thought that was like really smart.
I agree.
And,
it's a great piece of artwork, and you see him with
beautiful.
his silenced pistol. You see him. There's the knife there. There's the martini. There's the MacGuffin, the eggs there as well.
Yep, the small plane is flying in front of him. Like it's also like
It's perfect.
It's got some good color coordination. It's mostly
I
like
agree.
red and warm colors, you know.
I think this is brilliant. I think this might be the best Bond poster we've seen.
It's definitely up there. I really love this. I don't know if I'd have it in my room because I definitely get some eyebrows raised if people want to walk in. But I am a fan of it. I feel like given what this movie is, like they went the right direction. So yeah, I generally wouldn't touch it. I think it's great.
I agree.
Yeah. So title talk.
Ooh, it's the title.
Octopussy, Brenton. Was Octopussy in Octopussy?
Octopussy was in Octopussy, but did that character have to be called Octopussy? And
No. Jesus Christ.
And does the
this
title
woman.
of this film have to be Octopussy? Oh my
No.
goodness. Is it a good title? I don't think it is. I don't
think it is either. It's very awkward to say. And also, if you want to recommend to friends to watch Octopussy, you look weird.
Oh,
Like-
mate, I saw this great film and I reckon you should watch it. It's called Octopussy.
I mean, I wouldn't put on that voice when I recommend movies, but
You should check it out, mate. It just sounds so creepy, dude.
Jesus, especially when you sound like a heroin addict. But like, you know,
Watch it.
watch the movie James Bond. What's coming at you?
Oh, it's the Octopussy. That's what's coming. Oh my god.
Oh Jesus! But you know what's funny? Like they could have called it a lot of other Bond names because they're mentioned in the movie. They say the Portrait of a Lady in the film, and I'm like, oh, that's named after a James Bond story.
I don't know, dude.
Because that's also what the Fabergé egg is called. And also, they mentioned that Bond says at one point, "For your eyes only," when they're talking about the plans at the start.
Right.
So clearly, there's like wiggle room because apparently this actually has nothing to do with the Octopussy story.
Really?
Like
That's
it's very
interesting.
dissimilar to like the actual book. But I don't know, what would you call this instead of Octopussy, Brenton?
I think the first one you suggested, that's also the name of the MacGuffin.
Yeah, the property of a lady. Same, actually. Also, it still hasn't been used. So, like, I think it's a lot more clean than bloody Octopussy.
It's a missed opportunity, but you know what? I reckon this sold a lot of tickets because of the title, dude.
Oh, boy. You know what? Absolutely. I reckon it definitely
Yeah.
helped. Like, it'd be silly not to. Especially, like, you know, back in the 80s before.
Absolutely. There was a lot of power in that title, and I think it's time that we pass that power to the people.
Pass it here.
What?
The power to the people.
Rotten Tomatoes. They gave this film, Brenton, an abysmal score that I disagree with fundamentally. The critics gave it 41% and the audience
Yeah.
is 47%. Come on,
Yeah.
it doesn't deserve that kind of, you know, rottenness, does it?
No, I don't know if it does either, to be honest. Like, I think...
It's not that bad. Like,
It's
come
all,
on.
I mean, maybe I can see why. It's pretty stupid, but I thought the audience score would be higher. That's what I'm surprised at.
Same! Because it's so much fun. Audiences, what are you thinking?
But then clearly, like, obviously, this is not what people want from Bond. You know what I mean? Like,
But that's insane. Like, why not? Like, would you want, after No Time to Die, for them to go back in this direction?
I don't know if that could happen. Jeffrey Lyles from Lyles Movie Files, great name. gave us a rotten review and said, considering Bond gets disguised as an ape, a crocodile, and a clown, the film has a lot more to be embarrassed about than its title.
Jesus. I mean, look, if you told me on paper what was going on in this movie...
Did we talk about the crocodile costume?
I don't think we talked about the crocodile.
So, as soon as I saw the crocodile in this film, I laughed my ass off because it took me straight back to when Sean Connery was wearing the duck helmet.
Yeah, it's a good throwback.
And I thought it was going to be like a similar thing, like a crocodile helmet thing, and it was just going to be the head on top of this crocodile. It's the full body, and he manages to like open the back of it up, and he just like stands up like inside the crocodile.
It's so stupid. The fact that, like, how does he get into it as well? Because there's a big crocodile fight, and he just kind of like fucks off, and then he's already in it. Like,
I don't know. I think he just goes, that croc's coming, and he just swims down. He finds his little croc suit, and he just like jumps in it, and then just swims away. And the crocodile's like, oh, what are my brethren? You know, like it's all good.
Oh dear.
So that's what Jeffrey's referring to, is that idiocy of that moment. But I think it's fun. So.
I think it's fun too. Sorry, Jeff. David Sterlett from Christian Science Monitor wrote, the director John Glenn keeps the excitement level high for about an hour or so and then lets the show slip into the doldrums.
You know, like I said, in the opening hour, there's still a few moments that are a bit slow and have pace issues. So I wouldn't say that the opening hour is filled with excitement necessarily, but it's a good opening.
But I remember the moment when I literally, like, I hadn't touched, like, the movie at all, and then I had to go to the bathroom, and I was like, oh, we must be getting near, we're probably in the third act now, and we were only halfway through. I'm like, really? Like, I know what he's talking about. I get that.
So Stephen Eagle says this is one of the most underrated Bond movies ever. No doubt.
I mean, probably. Like,
probably.
Because also, it's weird we never heard about this as well. Like,
I mean, like, I always knew about Octopussy from that
title.
Yeah,
you knew the title, like, yeah.
But, yeah, you know what? There's some fun moments in this, and, yeah, obviously, it just, when it came out, it wasn't what people wanted from this franchise.
Oh,
so.
Boo. Alan McKenzie, he wrote, I love how everyone stands there watching the bomb being defused instead of escaping.
I love the fact that the audience as well still think it's like a clown act. Like, they all clap at the end of it.
Even after the bomb stops, they all go back to cheering.
They're all like, oh yeah, because the guy in the cannon's like, why has the cannon not been launched? And everyone's like, good gag.
Oh, it's so funny. Like, it's stupid. Like, if I was told that a bomb, because he keeps shouting, there's a bomb in there, I would have run, even though that probably wouldn't have helped, considering it was like a 20-mile radius or whatever.
And then the words "a bomb" is only used. It's not like a nuke is in there, you know.
No.
Like, which is in fact what it is. But the crowd doesn't know that, so they still think they could get maybe outside the tent and get away from the proximity of this. You know. Joshua 19 finally says, "So wait, it's not porn."
I mean, I can see how people thinking a film called Octopussy would be very sexual, but I think we've definitely reviewed more sexual Bond films than this one.
Nathan, there is for sure some Octopussy pornos out there. Like, there's like...
Jesus.
Like,
the parodies exist.
I'm
guessing.
Can you imagine?
Tweet at us, listeners. What's your favourite parody of this movie? Send them all to Brenton.
Please don't fill my Twitter feed with that. Please don't. Then
you'll get the account pulled in a heartbeat.
Then the cops will definitely be onto us.
Oh no.
That was Octopussy.
Wasn't it, Brenton? What a fun movie. What a jolly time had by all.
Guys, if you had fun today on the show...
well done.
Thanks for sticking with it, first of all. And like I said earlier on, if you could shoot us a review or a rating on Spotify and the Apple Podcast and like some of our YouTube videos, it really helps the show out. We love it when you guys do that.
Thank you so much to those
but
who do.
Most importantly, what we love you guys to do as well is to jump online and to continue the banter online and let us know what you thought of the film we spoke about. So let us know your thoughts on
Or just about
Octopussy.
James Bond in general. Just like have a chat to us. We'd love to know if this movie sucks for you or if there's a better standout, or even if there's a better Roger Moore one that we haven't done yet, because we'll consider that next time we get round to it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's 6 of them, so let's get into it.
And we're going to do them all, apparently. So hopefully, though, Brenton, this gave you new life for James Bond, you know? It restored the faith in this franchise.
Nathan, I still gave it a thumbs down. Look, honestly, dude, I'm just going to get back into my crocodile and waddle out of here, okay? You coming?
Oh, I guess.
Come on, in we go.
It's very cramped in here, Brenton.
Well, it's not a saltwater croc, is it?